losses in a row for the Indiana Pacers. They go into Detroit, they keep it close early, then they lose the first quarter and never catch back up, falling to 1-13. A similar script, yet Ben Mathurin returned. Jarace Walker was better. Isaiah Jackson was pretty good, and so much more coming on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin, and today, another loss for the Pacers. They're sixth in a row by at least 15 points. They're the 11th team to ever do that. Yikes, 8th in a row in total since they beat the Warriors. They have lost every single game since. To fall to now 1-13 this time in Detroit. Without Cade Cunningham, they cannot score enough to keep up with the Pistons. 127 allowed is also not very good. Both ends of the floor, some problems. And look, that's life for a bad team. They can't guard, they can't score, they're going to lose. But Ben Mathurin returned and was awesome, especially in the second half of this game, almost exclusively in the second half of this game. Isaiah Jackson started in his hometown and was really good. Jarace Walker was finally better for a full game in a way that was encouraging. So at least in this game, I walk away not just like, oh man, there's nothing of actual substance and value to talk about for this Pacers team. But of course, it's a loss. We start with why they lost, and it's honestly both ends of the floor in this particular game. I would have, if you said you have to pick one, you have to pick a side of the ball. And to be clear, by the way, the Pacers now second to last in the NBA net rating, just ahead of the Wizards. This is after this game. On offense, they're dead last. They fell behind the Mavs once again, as the Mavs actually have scored a little bit recently. And on defense, they're 26th. Bottom five in both right now. And I think this game was reflective of that, right? If you actually break the game up by quarter, it'll display why this game felt like an offensive loss, because the final stats are very bad, to be clear. The Pacers had a ton of turnovers. We'll talk about that in just a second. 21 turnovers. They shot 41.7%, which given their season is actually a kind of decent number. They've had a lot of terrible scoring games, but in the fourth quarter, they made 48% of their shots and 40% of their threes. They scored 37 in that period. Every other quarter, they were really floundering at something. Like in the third quarter, they had 6 turnovers despite actually making some shots. In the second quarter, they didn't make anything and had 6 turnovers. In the first quarter, they also did not make anything and had 7 turnovers. Like, they were really all over the place with a crescendo of finding ways to make shots throughout the game. Like, they scored 21, 25, 29, 37. It got better, but the turnovers were a consistent problem. And so it was really a two-pronged failure on the offensive end. Part one is the part that all season long has just escaped this team and maybe will just be a thing, right? I keep saying I think it's so bad, the level of shooting the Pacers have shown, that eventually it just has to get better, right? It just has to. And then it doesn't. In this game, they get to 41%. So that is right in the middle of their season. I learned during this game that they now officially have more games shooting under 40% this season than they did all of last year. And they continue to not be able to put the ball in the basket enough. Their only win came in their second best field goal percentage game of the season, when they shot almost 45% against the Warriors, right? They just have to make shots, and they can't. In this game, again, it was an issue. And it wasn't even like the guys who you'd expect to be bad were bad. The starters actually made shots. 40% is not good, but Nembhard was 4 for 10. That's okay. Mathurin started slow and was 7 for 16. That works. 6 for 7 for Jackson. 8 for 17 for Siakam, who's just balling. And Jarace Walker made half of his, albeit only 4, but off half his shots. The starters were fine. They were making stuff. And then they made subs. Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 2 for 8. It's a lot of volume for him. I like Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That's a lot of volume. 1 for 6 for old reliable Tony Bradley, who had probably his worst game in a minute. And at the same time, Isaiah Jackson was very good. J. Huff made half of his shots, but only played 8 minutes. Ben Shepherd, 2 for 7. Maybe it's just over. Maybe he'll just never make anything again. TJ McConnell, 0 for 4. He's really struggled since his debut was 6 for 12, I believe. Like, no one who played real minutes could make anything for the Pacers in this game, especially off the bench. And I keep making it a bench thing, like of late, but the game flow requires the conversation to be a bench thing. Same exact thing. I just wrote about this, right? In Phoenix, up 5, make some subs. They never even are close again. They lose by 35. In Utah, they're up 10-0, and then 20-10, they make some subs. They end up losing that game by 24. I'm missing a game here. Toronto at home. They're up 10 early in that game. They lose that game by 18. Like the second they sub, they lose control of these games. And it's like a slow drip where their lead goes away. And then just all of a sudden you're like, whoa, they're down 20. Like it happens so fast. So tonight, lo and behold, same game flow. It's in my notes in giant, all huge capital letters. Here comes the first sub. It's 12-12. Bennedict Mathurin is coming out for Jeremiah Robinson Earl. That alone is not a bad thing, right? I'm not saying that subbing out in that moment is a problem, like he's working back from an injury, but they immediately fall behind by 3, and they never even tied the game again. They were behind the whole rest of the way. So the bench has just been really dreadful, and they've got to figure out something with that. I don't really know what that even is, because this is the players they have. They're not going to have Neesmith for a while. They're not going to have Toppin for a while. They're not going to have Haliburton all season. Cam Jones and Johnny Furphy aren't just like magically fixing your bench. Quentin Jackson could help, certainly, but it's not like they have a magic pill coming to just really, really boost this, besides figuring out how to play better. The classic playoff adjustment of play better has to come for the Pacers in making shots. So that was not unique to this game. In fact, that follows the flow of a lot of their recent games. What was unique to this game was the turnovers. This season, Pacers actually decent to good turnover team. Only over 20 once before their loss in Golden State when they got pummeled by 31 points. Today, game number 2, over 20 with 21 turnovers in this one. I think the Pistons are a good defensive team, pretty good defensive team, but they should not be forcing turnovers to this extent, especially with a lot of their better defenders out. In fact, the stats bear this out very well. 21 turnovers for the Pacers. That's a lot. Jarris Walker had 3. He's got to get that under control. Siakam had 3. Mathurin had 4. Nembhard had 5. So a lot of their ball handlers with the starters, when they'd see pressure, didn't go well. Couldn't get the ball moving correctly where it needed to be. Threw it to the wrong guy, dribbled it off their foot. Whatever. Carlisle calls a timeout so fast in this game after Mathurin dribbles it off his foot out of bounds. Tony Bradley had 3 turnovers. And he is the guy that's the face of what the difference is from this game to other turnover games. And that Tony Bradley's not just like whipping bad passes all over the floor. He doesn't have the ball enough to really do that, or he doesn't throw dangerous enough passes to do that. He's not dribbling that much at all. He commits like an illegal screen or an offensive foul turnover. And that's why there's such a wide gap between 21 turnovers and 9 steals for Detroit for going the other way. 16 turnovers for the Pistons, but 8 steals for the Pacers. So they had 5 fewer turnovers, but nearly even steals. The Pacers had a lot of those kind of turnovers, the non-live ball, non-throwing it right to. They did obviously deal with some issues with pressure and just giving it to Detroit. Like when asked for Carlisle about turnovers after the game, he's like, "Yeah, we threw it to the guys wearing the other jerseys." Right? He chalked it up very simply, but it was their second most in a game this year. Given their efficiency, they can't do that. Right? If they're going to have so much trouble putting the ball in the basket, their best chance to overcome that is doing well in the possession battle. Rebound hard and keep the ball in your hands. They didn't do that either. 43-43 on the glass. Pacers have 5 more turnovers. They just gave themselves no chance and no margin for error against the Pistons team that stunk shooting threes in this game and stunk at the foul line. Like this game was there if the Pacers could have finished shots inside the arc, but they couldn't. They haven't all year. And the Pistons did finish shots inside the arc, and that's the end of this game's why the Pacers lost analysis. Their defense was bad again. Detroit didn't score early, 26 in the first quarter, then over 30 in all 3 of the remaining quarters. 66 points in the paint for the Detroit Pistons, 30 points off of those earlier aforementioned turnovers, which given that there's 9 steals, I think you can figure out that there's some funny stuff going on with how they track points off turnovers and like what play matters and free throws and things of the like. But their bench was really good with 40 bench points, and this was without Cade Cunningham. This was just a total team effort by the Pistons to get in the paint, get their offense going. That opened up some really early and easy Duncan Robinson threes. That opened a lot of space in the paint for Jalen Duren to just be a beast. He was amazing in this game, and the Pacers had no answer for his size or athleticism. He had a crazy dunk. He's just huge. But Javonte Green was splashing in jumpers all over the place. Dennis Jenkins, who's very good to be clear for a two-way player, had 28 and 6 or 26 and 8, excuse me, got that backwards, because he could get wherever he wanted on the floor. They just coasted around, and they didn't feel enough pressure from the Pacers defense. And this game was the perfect example of the snowball I talked about with James Wood yesterday. Like the Pacers tried some zone to really throw. I think this was the most zone they've played in the game this season. I can't wait to look at the stats for that. like to really try to throw off the Pistons in the half court and get themselves in transition. But the Pistons were scoring so much, right? They made 55% of their shots that they could set their defense and make it hard for the Pacers. And the Pacers couldn't get out of that rhythm going the other way where they score to set their own defense and really give themselves more chances to stop Detroit. So Pacers were ahead early, and once they fell behind, they never led again. Detroit's lead got as high as 24. Another rout for the Pacers. They did avoid the 17-point loss. It was only 15. I'm not like giving them credit for this or anything, but only 2 teams had ever lost 6 games in a row by 17 or more. Many more teams have lost 6 games in a row by 15 or more. Not that that's good, but they avoided rare air, and they're just in kind of rare air right now. We'll see where this goes because only 2 teams ever have lost 7 games in a row by 15 points, and the Pacers play the lowly Hornets on Wednesday. We'll be tracking that here, but that's the level that they're playing at. Like, some of the worst stretches of basketball ever when it comes to the connectivity of both ends of the floor. Let's talk about Bennedict Mathurin, who was back and in the first half was not very impactful at all. And the second half was like, oh man, there he is. There's Ben Mathurin. There's what the Pacers hope can be for some silver linings in this dreadful start to the season. That's coming up next year on Locked On Pacers. Everybody, quick break for 2 great groups of people I got to tell you about. First up is Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software is a disservice. That's why you need Rippling, the unified platform from global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They have helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. They remove the bottlenecks that busy work slows teams down. Instead, you can onboard your payroll and IT access, run it automatically, perfectly in sync. Everything is right there. Simple, easy to use, gives companies one source of truth for their people, their data, and everything they touch. So if you want to run your entire HR, IT, and finance as one, fill the gaps with your software stack, Rippling can do it all. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNBA, RIPPLING. Rippling.com LockedOnNBA for 6 months for free. Let's also quickly talk about the good people over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is this episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You make decisions every day there, and you can get paid for making those decisions on PrizePicks. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, the NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest thing to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds. It makes your lineup so easy. It operates in so many states, California, Texas, Georgia, and so many more. And during football, on Sundays, on NBA tip-offs, makes every game exciting. What do you think? Patrick Mahomes, Steph Curry, you can see how your predictions are going to play out. Are they going to go more or less than their key stats, threes, passing yards, whatever it may be? And they have stacks now where you can pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, their injury reboot saves your lineup from a loss. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen should be Locked On Pistons. I met Kuka Hill, the host today at the game. He will be breaking down the Pistons win without Cade and Asar Thompson. Another one for them. They're 10th in a row, the top team in the East right now. The Detroit Pistons, they're looking very good. Their style looks good. They have such an identity. They have such an identity. I like watching this Pistons team play. Unfortunately, Ku and I met at the arena. I was hoping to record this episode in the arena, but they were flipping it to a Red Wings game and a Jonas Brothers concert, kind of both at the same time, and they removed the power strip where I was sitting during the game. I couldn't charge my computer, and I can't record a whole podcast. It dies. It's a mess. You don't care. So here's my lovely Detroit hotel room. Okay, Ben Mathurin is back, and he started in a way that was kind of strange. And I don't mean this as a disservice to Ben Mathurin. Strange. I mean, like, I was like, what's going on here? So he's working his way back. He's playing with a different starting 5 kind of than when he played earlier. But in the first half, it was like, okay, I guess he's, working it back. He plays 10.5 minutes, missed all 3 of his shots, missed 2 free throws. So at halftime, Ben Mathurin has 2 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 3 turnovers, minus 12, right? Okay. Like, very easy to be like, yeah, he's missed 11 games in a row, right? He missed an early shot. He had the push off on defense, missed some free throws, dribbled it out. It's fine. But my first note about him, besides all that, is needs the ball more, right? And so at one point I'm like, how are they going to get him more involved? Because don't get me wrong, I get he's working his way in, but 3 shots in the first half, like that's as many as Jarris, way fewer than Siakam, Nembhard, Robinson, Earl, and Ben Shepherd all took more in just the half. Like they've got to get him the ball more than that. And I understand what was going on here. Then the second half starts, and there he goes. It was just an immediate shift. He takes 13 shots in the second half. Nobody else even close. The third quarter, he was just kind of getting warmer. He goes 3 for 4 in that quarter, committed some fouls that really limited his minutes today, had 1 turnover and no other stats in that quarter. Also got to the line 4 times, 9 points in 6 minutes. There it is. Like we saw this in Detroit before. We saw this season where there's just these stretches, the second quarter in Memphis, a bunch of the game against OKC, where it's like he's just unstoppable. He's their best source of offense by far. And then in the fourth quarter, it was just like, there he goes. 4 for 9, hits 3 threes, 3 foul shots, gets aboard 14 points in the fourth quarter. So his second half stats end at 7 for 13 with 3 threes, 6 free throws, 23 points in a half. That's great news for the Pacers that he's back and can do things like that already. And he played a lot. Like he's returning from a toe injury and played 25 minutes with 5 fouls. Like I don't think he played 25 minutes because of the injury. I think he played 25 minutes, and I know this because I was at the game, because of fouls. And that kept him out of the game. Now, let's be clear. Fouls are bad. He's got to get that under control. He was really frustrated, I think, after his 4th foul. And I think he thought he was going to stay in the game, and then Jarris Walker came in for him. As soon as he saw Jarris, he threw his arms up. He was all frustrated, but you can't be fouling that much. And they needed him in the game. Clearly, they were surging. They got to within 7, 8. Like I was harsh on the game they played, but the only thing they did different than their typical game flow of late was they actually cut it down a bunch in the fourth quarter. It was like actually kind of hanging in the balance early in the fourth because Ben Mathurin was hooping, and he was hooping because he was able to play, and he was able to play because they didn't keep him up, or they kept him off the floor when his foul trouble came. So that's what he's got to clean up, because everything else was just fantastic. Icy baskets, even with few touches. When he was getting them in the third quarter, he was making them count. Absolutely hooping in the fourth to get it all the way down to 9. And so, 1, this is good. The fact that he's already at that level of score again for this team that is just desperate for offense. Even a guy shooting 44% in a game like this just looks way better than what a lot of the Pacers are doing. He like everybody, can clean up some turnovers and fouls, but he stands out so much that he can just generate offense on this team that just can't score. So in that way, he looked really good. What also mattered to me, and Isaiah Jackson said this after the game, which really helps, because now I'm not just making this up, it's a player said it, is like when he starts to do that. So 1, obviously it's good. You're putting points on the board. They're chipping into the lead. And all of a sudden your offense doesn't look like complete crap. It looks just like mediocre to good at times. It gives the rest of the team a lift. Like they're all more confident in their own ability on offense, or their ability to score, when they see that, okay, this guy's doing it. I can do it. I'm good. I'm a good player. And that's just something this group needs to me. Like maybe I'm just missing something, but I just kind of have defaulted a lot to like mental blockade on a lot of this contagious, ridiculously bad shooting, where there's just no confidence. Nobody's making anything, and everybody's afraid to shoot shots that they would normally take. If you get Ben Mathurin scoring in a way that everybody else looks at him and goes, dang, look at that. Look at him go. He's carrying us. I need to step up now too. That's huge for the rest of the team. I thought that was his biggest impact from a team level. He was very happy with his with the team's push late, even though they lost. And Ben Mathurin is confident, by the way. He was saying it after the game that this team can turn it around. He really believes it. He broke the script of a normal Pacers game of late with that fourth quarter surge. He was getting into it with a fan that got him juiced up, jokingly saying like, "Yeah, I wish he did that in the first half to get things going earlier." And then this was silly, but like they committed a foul. I think when they were down like 9 or 11 in the fourth quarter. It wasn't at their absolute closest they got the game, but it was pretty close. Yes, it was 91-101 when this happened. Dennis Jenkins gets fouled by TJ McConnell. And the Pacers huddle up under the Pistons basket before the free throw. And Ben Mathurin is the leader of that huddle. He's talking to everybody, and he is clapping a bunch. And that's just like not something I've ever seen him do. So he was not only better as a player in the fourth quarter, but he was a spark for the team in a way that I don't know if I recall. Like the lift from him scoring has happened before. The lift from that stuff has not happened before. I'm keeping an eye on that as like on-court leader Ben Mathurin would be a welcome addition to this team, and scorer Ben Mathurin, who they have seen a million times before, is obviously a welcome addition to this team. He was quite good. I think more touches or more early touches would be huge for him because spread that scoring out or whatever. Obviously, if he keeps his fouls on, that would help. The other actual noticeable thing about his performance to me is that he played with the second unit with McConnell, which obviously McConnell was not available the first couple times he was playing in this game. Like, if the second unit, and who knows what sticks, I think Jarrett should keep starting. So if it's going to be Nembhard, Mathurin, Walker with Nesmith out, the second unit is going to have a 1 through 3 or whatever you want to call it of McConnell, Shepherd, and Robinson Earl. So they try, and Robinson Earl can shift up to the 4. He's just big enough to do that credibly-ish. He's maybe a little too small all the time, but they put Mathurin with that group, and then they get enough ball handling out of McConnell and Mathurin, and then like just a little bit of Shepherd and Robinson Earl. That's enough. And so he can really boost those units and get the ball more. So him playing with McConnell, which obviously is something they've done a lot before, but none this season, was like, okay, keep that in mind for a team that keeps trying to figure out the perfect roles for Siakam, who's a 3-stint player. How can they work Ben Mathurin in a way that is productive there? I thought that was at least a noteworthy rotation from the team in this game. Some Jarris notes, some Isaiah Jackson notes, so many more notes. They're all scattered all over the place. I have so many from this game. And we'll close out the notebook to finish up today's Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, got to talk about two great groups of people. First up is Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends Advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. I also need to tell you guys very quickly about Rugiet. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. When it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that is where Rugiet comes in. They offer fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment goes straight to your door, very discreetly. It's fast, simple, and private, handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to those moments that matter. Visit Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. Don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. And we're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day, or second listen. Dramatic game in Denver. Bulls Nuggets was awesome. Locked On Bulls or Locked On Nuggets. Also a dramatic game in Clippers Sixers. So either of those could be your second listen to hear about some good teams having some crazy games. The Bulls maybe are not a good team, but they got a win. They started off hot. They've been terrible since, but a huge win to win on the road in Denver. Okay, lots of things to get to. Duncan Robinson was killing the Pacers early as they were helping off early for drives. They had some horrible offense in the first quarter. Just when you see this drive, the starts of these games like this, I think they're putting a lot towards stopping these drives, and they're still giving up a lot of points in the paint, and they're giving up threes. I know their defense is bad. It's bottom 5, but it's another game. This is probably the 4th game this season where I'm just like, what were they even hoping to take away? Like, they didn't take away anything. They left threes on the table. They left drives on the table. Where is the connection? And I think that's why they go to zone in this game more, is because they realize at some point they're not taking away a thing, and they've got to find some connection on defense. I know I've talked a lot about guarding your yard, and I still believe that's important, but when that's happening, that's just a mess. Jalen Duren kicked their butts. I mentioned this already. After one quarter, he had as many made twos as the entire Pacers team. 25 minutes into this game, Jalen Duren had 6 made shots. The Pacers had 6 made shots. That doesn't seem right. It might be 15 minutes in. I typed 25, but I don't even believe that. And that was right before the Pacers went to a zone. I thought that was very noteworthy. Okay, 2 things. I talked about breaking up the rhythm of the usual routine of what we've seen from the Pacers of late. One was that Mathurin actually helped them surge in the fourth quarter. That has not been happening in these games where they just slowly lose their early competitive fight. They did fight back this time. Thing 2 that happened differently was they went on a run. I mentioned this yesterday with James, or maybe 2 days ago. I can't remember. After the Raptors game, I said, think of the last time the Pacers went on a 10-0 run that wasn't right at the start of a game, right? That helped them catch up. It happened. They were down a bunch. I think they were down 46-25. They were down 15, or I can't do math. That's 21. That wasn't even close. They were down 21, and then they got it to 39-46 with a 14-0 run in the second quarter. They were still down 18 at halftime, but that was the first time I thought, there it is, and they scored a lot, and they were getting stops. It was a very nice thing to see that's like in them. I know they lost this game, but Mathurin playing well, some of the other guys we're about to mention, like better-ish shooting. Obviously, the turnovers were bad, but there were enough like little crumbs of things in this game that I was like, oh, maybe they actually can get close to winning soon. I know that's like the most sad thing to say as a positive, but they actually showed more in this game than they have in a lot of recent games in a way that I thought, okay, keep an eye or put a pin in a lot of this stuff, the zones and all that. Okay, this is just a crazy stat that somebody was asking me about. When the last time the Pacers won a quarter, like outscored their opponent in a quarter, because it hadn't happened in a long time. People started to notice this in the last game, I think. The answer going into today was the second quarter when they played Denver 10 days ago. They lost 21 straight quarters. The last two against Denver, 4 full games, so that's 16 plus 2 is 18. The first 3 quarters of this game, they did not outscore their opponent in 21 straight quarters. But in the fourth, they got it done, 37-34. That's not good either, but they won a quarter. Another small breadcrumb sign. Okay, a couple players that I want to talk about. Apparently, I put my Isaiah Jackson notes into the ether because I just can't find them. So I'll just talk about him for a second. Great game. Fantastic performance. I wondered if he started because it was, the same reason Wiseman started in Memphis. My read would be that this is the Rick Carlisle thing. You're in your hometown. Get out there. Let's go. And he started in Detroit before for similar reasons. But Isaiah Jackson was fantastic. 6 for 7. He looked super bouncy. He looked super aggressive on the boards. He had 8 offensive rebounds. He's got to get some defensive rebounds, right? Like Duran was just a beast and tough for everybody. Don't get me wrong. But you get a double-double with 10 boards and 8 of them on the offensive end. Like you need those extra possessions as the Pacers. 3 assists, 2 steals. Obviously 5 fouls, an Isaiah Jackson problem all season. But he was very productive. They only lost his 26 and a half minutes by 2 points. They lost the other 21, whatever that would be, by 13. But I thought he was very good and productive. And look, I have agreed with Tony Bradley starting because he's been the most consistent center on the Pacers this year, no doubt, just rock solid, even though he isn't super athletic or fast or anything like that. But I have said before, Isaiah Jackson does have the highest ceiling by far of any of the Pacers centers. If they can get him closer to that ceiling, then he is their best choice at the 5. And it's fitting that he had this game on probably Tony Bradley's worst game of the season, right? Yeah, I don't remember Bradley shooting this poorly. His finishing was rough. He had 5 fouls. So I don't know if this will be a permanent switch. I think this might have been the Pacers are in Michigan thing, but Bradley sees the opportunity certainly. Jackson sees the opportunity certainly. So he was quite good. He poked his way into some space for easy baskets. He hit the boards. We'll see if that's a thing that can go back or if they continue to turn to Bradley. Bradley still played a healthy amount of minutes in this game. I don't know. I think I organized my notes pretty well, and then I get to the end and I'm like, where is this? Where is everything? Andrew Nembhard, really nice take for his first points of the game, and then he went 3 for 9 the rest of the way. He's scored 15 points isn't solid, but more turnovers than assists in this game, and he's been largely below the number of efficiency he needs to be. Every productive offensive shot for him, I write down now because I just need to see a little more consistency from him on the end of the floor. Carlisle, timeouts. 49 seconds into the game, another one intentionally late for the third time, getting a tech late, just giving the other team a point. I mean, at this game, he said he did it to get subs on the floor. When you're already down that much, who cares? People have been like, oh, obvious tank, or are they paying attention? I'm pretty sure they're doing it on purpose. So interesting timeout strategy, if that's the right word, from Carlisle. Okay, the player I continue to have the most notes about every game, Jarris Walker, much better. There he is. Not great, but 2 for 4, 3 boards, 1 assist, 2 steals, 3 turnovers. He's got to clean that up. It's a quieter night, but when he fits in, it stands out because he's been trying to create stuff and do stuff, and it has not been productive for him. But he had a strong take to draw a foul on his first drive where he got all the way to the basket, and I continue to talk about how important I think it is for him to get all the way to the rim. He had an ISO that led to a floating hook shot that he missed, which was one more dribble would have been good on that one, right? So the yin and the yang right there. But then he had that what I consider the Jarris Walker spin move where he dribbles hard and then kind of scoops it up for a pass to get it to a corner shooter. He had some nice passes started the second half. He was just much better in this game. He wasn't as floaty. He was locked in. That's a good sign because he had a terrible stretch of 5 games before this. If he's going to play with this starting 5 without Nesmith, he's got to continue to be close to this level. And speaking of the 2023 draft, even though I never said that, but that was when Walker was picked, Ben Shepherd, did not make shots. 2 for 7, although he was 2 for 3 on twos. Missed all 4 of his threes. Did a lot of stuff better in this game. 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block. I actually thought his minutes went pretty well and energetic outside of just missing everything. His defense was better than it has been in this game. He's had some rough defensive moments of late. Like everything he is supposed to be has not been there this year. Outside of making threes, he was better in this game. And this is not a misspeak. He led the team in assists. So better from Ben Shepherd and Jarris Walker. Better in a lot of ways for the Pacers, and yet they still lost by 15. A lot to clean up. The Hornets in town on Wednesday. Tomorrow, just me talking about the Pacers. I have some stuff I want to talk about. I want to talk about Anthony Davis and another trade report that got put out about the Pacers from Jake Fisher. And then we'll talk Pacers Hornets, and then we'll do a guest Thursday, and then I'll be in Cleveland Friday. Yahoo! Fun week of Pacers hoops right here on Locked On Pacers. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on social media at Tony R. East and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. Back tomorrow talking more about the Pacers. Till then, everybody, thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you very soon.